Okay, so a little bit more about what to look at on your ALJ decision when you've gotten a denial. It's going to help you determine whether to appeal, because you're going to be looking at the details that got the denial and which ones you think were done without sufficient evidence, or properly, without doing it according to the rules that the judge should have complied with. Which could include a lot of things, like whether or not he did consider all evidence of XYZ of magnitude when deciding that XYZ was not serious or didn't include a particular, repercussion limitation. Okay, so this particular tip is about the paragraph concerning the RFC. You've probably heard RFC many, many times, certainly if you've listened to any of my videos, but my colleagues as well. Residual functional capacity. It is what rules the world in the Social Security, Disability, and SSI arena. So residual functional capacity, that is the capacity you have left to do a variety of work-related tasks despite your impairments and the limitations that they provably impose upon your ability to do work-related tasks. So, and this is where it kind of drives home the point that a diagnosis is not going to get you a finding of disabled. The question is, how does that diagnosis limit your ability to do work-related functions? And does it, or does it with other impairments, limit so many work-related task functions that there would be no job that you could do, no occupation amongst the many, many thousands that are on the list. So, the RFC, it's going to be one of the first, I want to say it's in the first half, maybe, of the report. But if you notice, the ALJ opinion goes by, once you get past that little boring intro part with the procedural stuff, but read every line anyway. You guys have got to read every line. You'll find it boring, I'm sure, but you might find something that's awry there, and then you find out that they actually were talking about the wrong, something crazy could go on, and it might not even be your case. So you have to find these things. But the paragraphs that are resulting in the finding of fact that resulted from the evidence in the file and your testimony are going to be in these bolded headline sections. I used to call them paragraphs, but it's not really a paragraph because usually there's multiple paragraphs within many of them. So, the first one might be, well, he's insured until so-and-so date for SSD. Okay, that's short and sweet. Whether or not you've worked SGA since you claim to have been disabled, and so on. So the paragraph that you want to look at, that I'm referring to here, is the one where the ALJ says that he has found you to have the residual functional capacity to do X kind of work. Sedentary, light, medium, heavy. Okay, that's the exertional way they define the RFC. Sedentary, light, medium, heavy. And by and large, that broad pigeonholing, if you will, is going to make or break many, many cases. So it's really important that you look at it, and you want to go look up what the SSA defines those things as, so that you can make a decision as to whether you feel very strongly that your medical evidence, not so much what you said, because talk is cheap, but what your medical evidence shows. So for instance, light, you're expected to be on your feet 6 out of 8 hours for a light job as a general rule, unless it's somehow limited further. But that's what light work is considering. It's more than sedentary because you're on your feet more. You also lift slightly more than sedentary. Sedentary, you lift up to 10 pounds. Light, you lift up to 20. So if you have, medical evidence, statements from doctors that if you at least read between the lines, you wouldn't be able to be on your feet for 6 of 8 hours. Maybe you have horrible neuropathy. Maybe you have, I don't know, really deformed feet. Maybe it's your back. Maybe there's so much evidence that after like 20 minutes of standing, your back is so inflamed. Maybe you're having muscle spasm, but it's got to kind of be in the medical records. And that's why you have to really communicate with your orthopedist or whoever's treating you for whichever problem that would happen with. So if you find that that you should know your medical evidence inside and out, first of all, and that would be clearly not something you could do, that might be something that you want to appeal. One of the things, anyway, appeal on, that the substantial evidence says something different, and that was a finding not made with consideration of the substantial evidence. So the broad category is defined first in that section on RFC, but then the RFC is a little more clarified, because any other limitations, like, well, it's limited to a light job, but it's further limited by the fact that he has really bad arthritis in one hand. So he can only use his hand. They'll probably say frequently. I kind of think someone with really bad arthritis in their hand can't use it more than occasionally. And those are terms of art: occasional, up to 1/3 of a workday. What is that, 2.5 hours approximately? Frequently, anywhere from that 1/3 of a workday to 2/3 of a workday. So that could be up to, 6 hours feasibly, right? Close to it, 5.5. And there's constant, which is everything above that. But if you find that that RFC paragraph does not come close to what you can't do, and you've testified to it, and or the medical evidence is very kind of abundant with descriptions of how frequently you're complaining of hand pain. Maybe there's visual lumps. Maybe you're constantly getting injections. That's evidence of pain that's pretty ongoing and frequent, and not just minimal, right? Who's going to get injections for a little ache and pain? So if you know that, and you see that this hand impairment has not been sufficiently addressed in that RFC, that might be something that you would want to appeal on. And then you're going to want to go, and I'll talk about this in another thing, and find out what he does say about your hands and the rest of the record. But in the meantime, that RFC is where they took whatever the impairments were, and the limitations that they found stem from those impairments, and put them into well, it's not a hypothetical now, it was a hypothetical back when your judge was asking the vocational expert what a hypothetical individual could do under a particular RFC. And then sometimes there's multiple RFCs, right? So you need to look at all the details and figure out which of those limitations are missing, what should have been added in there that would have been carved away. Because if you notice, the vocational expert went ahead and decided that there were 3 jobs that the hypothetical person that fit a particular RFC could do. And the judge then found out that you are a person who fit that RFC. And now you're held to task for these occupations that you supposedly could do, so you're not disabled. So you need to go find those other limitations that the judge forgot to put in there. If you didn't ever mention them, obviously that's not going to work. If you didn't treat for them, it's likely not going to work. And that's why all of the nagging videos about diagnosis isn't going to make the day. You've got to treat. You've got to work those things up. There's got to be diagnostic evidence, all sorts of important things to get that strongly on your side for a Social Security disability or SSI claim. Okay, so RFC, anything that puts you as doing more than you know you can do. It could be interacting with coworkers. Maybe you have a mood disorder and you fly off the handle quite easily, and you would have to be limited to only occasional, up to 2 hours a day or the whole day, having to interact with them. You could not be constantly interacting with them. It couldn't be part of your job. That, of course, would come from mental health records, right? And you do have to have the foundation of mental health records, in my opinion. There can be some gravy on top of that, where your primary care provider or some specialist has noted, maybe just kind of like off the cuff, certain like symptoms he saw, like maybe someone was tearful in the office or something. That would help actually support what the mental health therapist or psychiatrist has been saying about, emotional regulation, tearfulness, ability to control those reactions. Because again, those kind of things are the things that will affect how much someone can maybe be around others in the workplace without being overly distracting to the others, or being distracted himself. And that would also come out in the RFC. If the judge is saying you can frequently interact with others, and you're like, oh, heck no, I can't even do it occasionally, which would be that 1/3 of the workday, you're going to want to maybe make that a piece of your appeal focus, assuming you have the goods in your medical records, and your testimony and your function report statements and all that stuff. But that's where it's going to have to come from. Otherwise, appealing something that has no evidence behind it is not going to help you. Okay, but that's where you go. The residual functional capacity, that is what ended up defining you and whether you could, in their opinion, do some sort of occupation or three. Okay, so that's a place to start. I think next time we'll talk about the found impairments, MDIs, medically determinable impairments, severe and non-severe. All right, that'll be for next time. Talk to you later. Bye.